The lunch rush had just ended, and the hum of conversations in the small diner in Lexington faded into a comfortable silence.
Sunlight poured through the large glass windows, dust specks swirling like tiny stars in the golden light.
It should have been an ordinary afternoon, but for a woman named Charlotte, a hard-working single mother with tired eyes and a hopeful smile, this was the day her life would change forever.
She didn't know it yet, but the decision she made in the span of just a few minutes would cost her everything and then give her back more than she had ever dreamed possible.
The diner wasn't anything fancy. The floors were worn from years of footsteps. The red leather booths had a few cracks patched with tape.
And the coffee was strong enough to wake up even the sleepiest trucker. But for Charlotte, it wasn't just a diner. It was survival. After her husband walked out years ago, she had taken every shift she could, balancing long hours at the diner with raising her 10-year-old son, Jack.
Every tip meant food on the table. Every paycheck meant keeping the lights on. Before we dive deeper into this story, if you believe in the power of kindness,
if you believe that courage can change a life, and if you believe that every person deserves to be treated with respect,
then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Third Person View, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that compassion always finds a way back.
Your support helps us spread stories that inspire hope and humanity. That day, the bell above the door jingled, and in walked a group that instantly drew every eye in the room.
The Hells Angels, with their leather jackets, heavy boots, and tattoos that told stories of roads traveled and battles fought.
The air shifted. Customers lowered their voices. A nervous hush fell over the diner as the group of bikers filled two booths at the back.
Some people stared, others quickly looked away, and behind the counter, the manager, Mr. Robert, stiffened.
Whispers rippled across the room. "Don't serve them," muttered a man at the counter. Another customer left change on the table and hurried out the door.
Charlotte felt her heart race. She had heard stories, rumors really, about the notorious biker group.
But as she glanced over at them, she saw something unexpected. They weren't sneering or causing trouble. They were tired, dusty from the road, and clearly hungry. One of them even helped adjust a chair so an older member could sit comfortably. While the rest of the staff froze, Charlotte tied her apron tighter and walked over with her notepad. Her hands trembled, but she forced a smile. "What can I get you all today?" she asked softly. To her surprise, the bikers treated her with respect. They said please and thank you. They cracked small jokes. One even complimented the pie sitting in the display case. Charlotte served them as she served everyone, with kindness and warmth. When she set down their plates, she added extra bread without charging and refilled their coffees before they asked.
In her eyes, they weren't dangerous. They were simply people in need of a hot meal. But as she returned to the counter, her manager's face was red with anger.
He pulled her aside sharply. "Charlotte," he hissed, "what are you doing? Do you know who they are? You could drive away the rest of the customers."
"This diner has a reputation to protect." Charlotte tried to explain that they were polite and that they deserved to be treated like anyone else. But Mr. Robert didn't want to hear it. By the time the bikers left, leaving a generous tip on the table, Charlotte's fate was sealed. That evening, when the last tables were cleared and the chairs were flipped onto the tables, Mr. Robert handed her a thin envelope. "You're done here," he said coldly. "I can't have someone who disobeys orders and puts the diner at risk." "You're fired." Charlotte stood frozen. Fired for being kind? For doing her job?
She tried to plead, but he turned away.
Her chest tightened as she thought of Jack waiting at home, probably working on his homework, expecting dinner to be ready. The wake of uncertainty crashed down on her. No job meant no rent. No job meant empty cupboards.
The walk home that night was long and heavy, every step echoing the question, did I do the right thing?
The next morning, Charlotte woke with swollen eyes from crying, but she plastered on a brave face for her son. She didn't want him to see her despair. She made him cereal with the last bit of milk and promised she'd figure things out.
Inside, though, fear gnawed at her. She didn't know where to go, who would hire her, or how she would explain being fired for something so simple.
By midday, Charlotte heard the low rumble of engines outside her small apartment building in Lexington. Curious neighbors peeked out windows. Charlotte stepped onto her porch, and her heart nearly stopped. A line of motorcycles stretched down the street, chrome gleaming in the daylight. At the front stood the very same group of Hell's Angels she had served the day before. For a moment, panic flickered in her chest. But then one of them stepped forward, holding a bouquet of wildflowers, and another carried grocery bags filled with food.
The leader, a tall man with weathered features named Richard, spoke in a voice both strong and gentle.
He explained that they had heard what happened, that Charlotte had lost her job for simply treating them like human beings.
"That ain't right," he said. "Kindness should never cost you everything." Richard handed Charlotte an envelope. Inside was more money than she could have earned in months of waitressing.
One by one, the bikers set down bags of food, fresh vegetables, and even a box of school supplies for Jack. Charlotte's hands shook as tears filled her eyes. "Why? Why are you doing this?" she whispered. Richard looked at her firmly.
"Because yesterday you gave us respect when no one else would. You saw us as people, not monsters. That kind of heart deserves to be protected."
Word of what happened spread quickly through the neighborhood, then across Lexington. News outlets picked up the story. Waitress fired for serving bikers. Then they came back to save her. Strangers reached out, offering jobs, donations, and messages of encouragement. Charlotte found herself at the center of something bigger than she had ever imagined. A reminder that kindness has the power to ripple outward, touching lives far beyond her own. Charlotte eventually accepted a new job at a family-owned cafe, where her kindness was celebrated rather than punished. Customers came in not just for the food, but to meet the woman who had once been brave enough to serve the Hell's Angels with a smile. And at home, when she tucked Jack into bed at night, she reminded him of the lesson she had learned. No matter what the world says, kindness is never wasted. Sometimes it just takes time for it to come back to you. If this story moved your heart, if it reminded you that true character shines brightest in the face of judgment, then you know that kindness freely given can create ripples that change more lives than just your own. Please like this video, subscribe to Third Person View, and share it with someone who needs to remember that judging a book by its cover can hide the most profound lessons. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that celebrate the human spirit and inspire positive change. Before we close, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced a moment where a simple act of kindness, given or received, completely changed your perspective or situation? Share your story in the comments below. I read them all.